Hi everyone, and welcome back to my live chats. Every day this week to celebrate the first year anniversary of the launch of my book, Art is My Career, How to Start an Art Business. I'm going to be chatting to artists every day about different topics and seeing how they've got on during this year and how my books helped them. So these artists are part of my Art is My Career community. So when you buy the book, you get access to the Art is My Career community, which is an exclusive Facebook group. So when you buy the book, the ebook copy or the physical copy, you get access to this group where you can ask questions and socialize with other artists, and it's been so useful and lovely to see all these amazing artists join this group and help each other through each stage of their art careers. So yesterday we spoke to two artists about taking the leap and their experiences. One artist had taken the leap to being a full-time artist because of COVID, and the other artist is saving up to take the leap herself. So it's two very different experiences, and it was really, really enjoyable to talk to them. And today we're talking to two artists about their medium of choice. So both of them haven't chosen a conventional medium like painting on a canvas. So it's going to be really exciting to talk to them about it. And if you guys have any questions throughout, just feel free to ask questions. And you can also watch this video back later. I will upload this video to my IGTV channel on Art is My Career, and you can watch it back later. I will also provide the links to the artists so you can see their Instagram profiles and see their amazing artwork. So it's going to be very, very exciting. Yeah, I can't wait. So we'll just wait for them to join. I'm very excited. Let me just find them here. So I hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's video. I really enjoyed it. It's my first, I guess, interview, interviewing people. So it was kind of nerve-wracking, but I really enjoyed talking to these artists, and I'm really looking forward to today's episode because it's so interesting. Here we go. Hello?
Hiya.
Nicola, hello.
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Brilliant.
A little bit.
I'll just move this down a little bit to adjust it because it changes every time.
This is not. There we go.
Yeah. So we're just waiting for Pauline now. Would you like to start by introducing yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Nicola Burton, and I have been making art with Eggshells. So like my career history is actually kind of PR, marketing, copywriting, that kind of thing. And for a long while, I've always been kind of the crafty one of of my friends and like creative and that kind of stuff, but I've never kind of. So I hadn't ever really got around to kind of making it my career or anything like that. But recently, it's just sort of I've had sort of opportunities to make more of that. So I've like this month has been the first month where I've kind of gone, no, I'm going to put the copywriting and marketing aside for a little bit and focus on the art. So yeah, I'm artwork with eggshells laid by my chickens that are in my garden out there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I saw. So lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really love your artwork. I think it's so beautiful, and like it's sort of got this really like delicate but colourful feeling about it. I guess because it's on eggshells, you're just like, oh wow, it's just so delicate but different. Like, never really seen anything like it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, a lot of people are surprised when they find out that it is eggshells. Some people think maybe it's like
Mm,
stones or something at first, or
mm,
circles of card. But yeah, obviously when you see it in person, you can really see sort of the 3D effect. And so they're generally arranged in a frame, either in a grid format or a
mm,
freeform format. But yeah, it means that essentially with that canvas, I can do anything. So, you know, any kind of color.
mm.
So it's kind of gives me endless opportunities, and you know, there's always opportunity to practice my art. And so, you know, some days I'm in a mood where I'm like, you know, just slap it on kind of thing. And you know, other
Yeah.
days it's very much like I want to work on finer detail. So it
Uh-huh.
keeps challenging me, I guess. So there's lots of
Yeah.
growing as an artist.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, it's so lovely. Um, just waiting for Pauline to join us. It's only the second time I've used this, so just learning how to navigate this Instagram live room thing. Have you ever used this before?
Yeah, but not sort of personally. I've kind of set things up for work in the past
Mm.
with clients, but no, I haven't actually sort of done it myself. So
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to talk to you, and then I need to try and like join people, and it can be quite confusing. Um,
request.
yeah, so yeah, I've tried to request, but it just wasn't
So she's
like it's not finding her. Oh, it says unable to join. I don't know why. Why is she unable to join? I don't know. It should work. Yesterday it allowed me to have two people. Um,
I think she might need to click request to join,
yeah.
and then you should approve.
Pauline, if you can hear me, click request to join. So while we wait for her, do you want to start back at right at the beginning and like what was your first experience with creating art and were you always the artistic one, that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. So growing up, I was very much into art, craft, and reading, and you know they were sort of my kind of hobbies right from very young age.
Mhm,
And so like my kind of memory of the summer holidays is just being in the conservatory and painting and reading and stuff like that. So it's
mhm,
always been very much part of my life. And then I guess I went to university, so then everything was really focused on the reading. But when I finished at Cambridge, I um, moved to London, and I kind of at that point I had a bit more spare time to be able to do a bit of craft. Uh,
mhm,
so alongside my job, the first kind of I guess craft that I did that I ended up making for other people, I kind of did mosaics out of buttons.
oh wow, that's beautiful.
So that was what I kind of started off doing. But again, it was just giving them to friends and family and that kind of stuff.
Mhm,
Yeah, I've taught myself to crochet and to knit through kind of YouTube and stuff like that. I've always got something on the go. Um, but then I guess so. My daughter's 6 now. I think when she was about 3, we'd got the chickens, and
mhm,
we'd had a scrambled egg for lunch or something. We had the eggshells there, and we had paints out. We were planning to paint that afternoon, and so we just decided to start painting on these sort of eggshells, and we just had great fun. And so it was like then one of her favourite things to do. So she
mhm,
that if we had eggs for lunch, that meant that we would be painting eggshells, in the afternoon and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how it started. And then, I put them into a frame because like it was just like a nice memory of what, we were making together. And then I just started
mhm,
that actually, when I went freelance as on my kind of copywriting and PR side of things, I thought, well, I
mhm,
actually don't like kind of give a little bit of time to the art stuff, and then gradually I just sort of thought, do you know what, I could actually make a go of this properly. And so kind of really researching on particularly Instagram, finding sort of all the the chicken loving people and all the art people and stuff. Yeah, it just felt like they were really great communities that, you know, I really enjoy being part of. So so yeah, it was kind of, I suppose, over towards last summer, I'd say I kind of started getting a few commissions from friends of friends, you know, that had seen essentially stuff on my personal Facebook page that I'd been making, and they're like, "Oh wow, you should sell these," and that kind of stuff. So yeah, from there on in, it sort of started off with just friends of friends, and then I decided to create my website, which was on for copywriting and marketing and that kind of stuff, but I just had another tab for the eggshell thing. Again, sort of quite tentative about my approach into it. But then, yeah, recently, I mean, the other thing to mention as well is I'm quite open on my Instagram that I have bipolar. And so for me, craft has always been a massive part of my kind of self-care. And you know, if I'm ever kind of spiraling a little bit, craft can kind of help bring me back. So this year, because I've been having a bit of a tough time with meds and things like that, craft has kind of played a bigger part in my life, and it's just all sort of fallen into place at the same time, really. So now I'm able to spend a lot more time doing craft, doing the eggshell art, and it's been brilliant to kind of get orders from, you know, international clients and, you know, people that I've met just through Instagram and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been, I guess that's my journey.
Yeah, oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I love that you're doing eggshells from your own chickens.
Yeah. So we have, in fact, you might be able to see. Let me see if I can see out there. We've got some chickens out.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're so cute.
Yeah, we've got about 20 chickens, I think. We did have some ducks as well, but sadly they had to go because the neighbour wasn't that keen.
Okay.
But
they're too noisy or something.
Yeah, girl ducks can be quite noisy and very messy and muddy. Yeah, so it means I've got an endless supply of eggshells to keep me going. Yeah, so it just, I like the fact as well that it is something that comes out of, you know, my home, my family. It feels very sort of part of me in an authentic way, if that makes sense. So yeah, having that opportunity to go and collect the eggs with my daughter, bring them in, and even now, you know, when I'm working, she'll often sit next to me and paint as well. So it's kind of, it feels like a real, I mean, I just can't think of it as work, to be honest. It just feels fun, and it feels amazing, and it's amazing that, you know, I've sort of found an audience that you know, share my sort of views on it, and, you know, are paying me to do it. Really, it's brilliant. So
well, it's just so unique and I think really special, and yeah, I can see why people can connect with it so much, because I really like it. Like even your use of color palette that you have for each like arrangement is really beautiful. Do you want to talk about more like your technique of how you actually paint them and what kind of paint you use and things like that?
Well, tell you what, I'll show you my desk quickly because then you can see the array of stuff we've got. So there's kind of like just so much stuff. I just buy lots of art materials all the time. And so the main things that I use are alcohol inks, acrylic paint, and some pen, some oil colour, some watercolour. It really is a mix. And I just it depends. So it's real mixed media, and it's kind of, it gives me that freedom to what like I say, what I feel like doing that day. If I want to be sort of big and bold with, you know, the brush strokes, or you know, I purposely have paintbrushes that are all kind of you know, worn out and crusty and sticky and that kind of stuff, play with texture. Oh, she's in.
Oh yay, Pauline's here! Yay! Finally, Instagram.
Sorry, for some reason it didn't work on the laptop, so I'm just.
Oh, okay.
Now it just would not come up. So it's not great. It's on the phone, but I'm sure. That's
all right.
Can you hear me okay?
Great. Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
Well, maybe it's because you can only use it on your phone. I'm not really sure how the app really
Possibly.
works. Yeah,
Possibly,
it
yeah,
might just
maybe,
be
but
like,
no play on the laptop, so
yeah, all right. Well, we can see your beautiful face now, so
thank you.
brilliant for joining us. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Nicola was just talking about her techniques for painting her eggshell art.
Ah, really
Yes.
unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, really unusual, really beautiful stuff. I wanted to ask, do you find that using different paints like watercolor versus alcohol inks, does it give a different effect on the eggshell, like absorbency kind of thing?
Definitely. So some eggshells kind of, see, I've got some examples, will kind of bleed through.
Hmm.
I don't know if you can see on here, but sort of some will kind of go through.
Hmm.
And it partly depends on, because inside the egg there's a lining.
Yeah.
As that dries, it brings different textures. So let me see on here. I don't know if you can see here, but like on this one, it's that's where the lining's peeled off, so it's kind of got a different texture.
Hmm.
And so yeah, using different materials, I never really know how an eggshell is going to turn out at first. It's kind of like you just sort of play with it, and then yeah, it just feels quite natural as to just sort of experiment with things each time.
Yeah.
I generally tend to sort of work on them in 2 sessions. So one
Hmm.
be getting all the base colours down, and then I let those dry, and then I'll kind of come in with like the finer detail, with sort of fine paintbrushes or pens or something like that. And then I put a lacquer on them and seal,
Okay.
and they go into the frame. So
Wow, so beautiful.
yeah.
So now that Pauline's here, Pauline, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
Sure. So my name's Paulie Sinclair, and I am a needle felt artist, which means that I use unspun wool and a single needle to create portraits. I did start initially on 3D sculpture, so that's how I started needle
Oh,
felting.
wow.
And I did that, I think it was August 2019 I started. I just went to like a little craft sort of workshop, did something really simple. I'd always followed it and tried it out and just fell in love with it. And then
Mm.
the end of 2019 started to notice 2D work. Sorry, that's my dog squeaking a toy in the background. Typical. Noticed some 2D work and started to follow some 2D artists.
Hmm.
And Sophie Wheatley did a course that started in January.
Hmm.
And it was specifically dog portraits. So I joined that and did my first portrait in January. And in February, I gave up my existing business to do this full time that
Oh,
quickly
wonderful.
because I fell in love with it so
Fantastic.
quickly. I just took to it so quickly and loved it,
Mm.
and just decided that I didn't want to do anything else and just kind of made the leap, basically. So.
Brilliant. So for those who don't know, what exactly is needle felting?
So I've got some of the wool here. So basically, it's unspun wool. You can see
Hmm.
that. It's just dyed different colours, different types of wool, so like merino, different textures and things. Fairly fine wool. I'll just show you. This is my next one that I'm actually starting. So this is mapped out. So I've drawn on
Okay.
to. This is wool felt, but you can use linen, lots of different types of fabric. But I like the wool felt. It's nice to felt with, and there's lots of great colours.
Mm.
So basically, I've drawn out what I want, just a kind of rough idea, and then I start to use the wool with this single needle. And
Okay.
basically, I just take some of the tiny amounts of fibre. You really don't use a lot, like this, and lay it down on top of the felt. And basically, this little needle, you probably won't see it, but it's got tiny little notches. So when you
Okay.
stab that into the wool, it mats all the fibres together, and it also mats it with the base fabric, and it just
Mm.
felts it basically. So, but you layer it and blend it like you would with paint or any other medium, so it's all about layering it and getting the right effects and texture, just by using different types of wool and colours and things, and different an
Mm.
amount of kind of felting, and it basically just build it up and build it up. And so
Wow.
you've got different needles. I like to work with quite a fine needle because I like to put a lot of detail in, and it's just personal preference. And so different needles for different things, but I generally use pretty fine work. And so that's how it's created, basically. It's just as with anything else, but with wool. So
Yeah. So how, like, typically one about this big stay, how long would that take you to do?
So this is the one that I finished before, little Jack
Mhm.
Russell puppy.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's about 8 inches by 8 inches.
Hmm.
The whole piece there. And that took me probably about 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours.
Okay.
To be honest, I've stopped counting because
I never
because
count either.
it drives you crazy. And then I forget to time it. And then like one that size could take me 6 hours. One might take me 15 hours. It depends
Hmm.
how good the reference picture is.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't feel it. Sometimes it's like a battle and you're like, if I make a mistake, I can pull the wool off, which is great. So sometimes, you're like pulling wool off and trying to fix it. And other times, like that little Jack Russell just flew, it just, there was no problem with it at all. I loved it. So yeah,
Wonderful.
I just don't count anymore.
Yeah, no, it's so hard to count. Like, it's such a hard question to answer because people always ask me as well.
They
And I'm like,
always ask, yeah.
a day, 2 days, I don't know.
Sometime, I don't know,
Yeah.
always get asked that, and I never have a good answer. I just kind of make it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's roughly that.
Yeah, roughly. And what about you, Nicola? Like, so say you were doing a grid of like 9 eggshell grid kind of thing. I guess obviously it depends on the complexity of the painting on the eggshells, but how long do they normally take you to do?
Well, if it's just sort of a random color scheme, I'd probably spend an hour or two, maybe 3 hours pottering them, allowing a bit of drying time in between and that kind of thing. If the ones that take longer, which are really popular, are the rainbow grids, so that the colours move throughout the rainbow, and it takes longer because I really want that graduation to happen nicely. Involves a lot more playing around, and I dread to think how long I actually spend on them because then you realise you should charge a lot more.
Yeah.
It really does depend, but yeah, I would say I always come back to it a second time, and then kind of just, I think once you kind of step away from it a bit and come back, you can have a fresh perspective on your work and sort of see any little bits that need tweaking or somewhere where you want to add a bit more texture or colour or something like that.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So a question for both of you, like, is there like a difficulty for using your specific mediums that you found when you started and that you've now overcome and you feel like people should know about, I suppose, like something that you didn't really know when you started?
That's a hard one, actually. I don't
say at the beginning, because as I say, I went into this as very much just a little hobby with my daughter, for fun after lunch kind of thing. At first I didn't have sort of strong, like really decent glue and things like that. It was very much kind of craft materials that we already had in, and I've always had a craft room full of stuff, but it wasn't necessarily professional quality. So the biggest thing for me, which I had to overcome, was getting good glue, because obviously they are so delicate. So when I'm posting them, and that's the other thing, packaging, just kind of.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
A lot with packaging to make sure that everything stays in place, and everything has so far. So just finding the good glue and good packaging.
I think I don't think there's any difficulty in using the wool as such, but I think finding good suppliers, and even like the needles, you'd think, well, how different can they be? But different suppliers' needles make a massive difference. I suppose. Finding really good quality needles and things like that, and even like the. So I felt onto. I don't know if you can see. This is a big piece of memory foam. And it's pinned to it because obviously the needle goes through, and a lot of people have difficulty finding things like that, and you can get it cut to size online and things. So just things like that make your life a lot easier, so you're not trying to sort of hash something together yourself. So I'd say just finding good supply. It just takes a while to you know, find what you're looking for, and get somebody that's got the things, and a lot of it's personal preference as well. But yeah, that's probably the best thing. If you know somebody who knows what they're doing and can just give you a list, that's the easiest thing. So
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. And do you have issues with color matching? Because like trying to color match the picture, do you dye them yourself, or do you buy them specifically, or?
you can dye them. I don't. One of the colours that's quite hard to get is like a natural tan colour, and you can dye that with tea and coffee and things. Yep. So still all pretty natural stuff, which I quite like. But and a lot of people struggle with colour with needle felting, because they look at the colour of a dog and they look for that exact colour in wool, and it just doesn't happen like that. It's all about layering it. And it's the same in any media, you know, like a white dog has very little white in it. And, you know, I'll use a lot of purples and blues and things to bring out that white, and you know, put down a base colour and things first. So it's as I say, it's quite similar to a lot of other types of art. And you've got to kind of look beyond that end colour and just build it. And you can also blend different colours. So as well as layering them on, you can blend them by hand. So you're basically mixing the fibres by hand, which I hate to do, but you can do that just to achieve. And also, you know, I think you're never always going to get the exact colour. And once you stop trying to get everything exact, then it becomes much easier. And actually, you know, in different lights and things, dogs don't look the same colour anyway. So as long as you can get as close to it, then I think you're okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. It sounds like quite complicated, but I'm assuming I guess it's learning from experience. You get quicker the more you do it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just having an eye for it as well, and being able to see colours. When I look at a picture, it's about being able to pick out the colours that I can see. And I do walk about looking at people's dogs, thinking what colour wool they are, and you know, oh, I see a bit green in there, or I see a bit pink in there, and you know, and it's not always the colours you think that they should be. You know, the light hits them and reflects and things, and you see different colours, and putting that into a portrait really brings it to life and makes it much more realistic. So like a black dog, a black shiny dog's hardly got any black in it. It's got lots of greys and blues and some black in it, but you don't need a lot of black wool. You know, so it's just about sort of getting past it's a black dog and just looking at blocks of colours and just trying to separate them all basically. And that's how to create the look of, you know, the colour or the texture or what have you.
So Nicola, do you have any issues with colour matching with your eggshell art? Like, do you get a customer that says, "Oh, I want it specifically this colour," and you find that quite difficult, or is that?
I think because the nature of the colour schemes that I tend to use, and also what I think is quite popular in interior design at the moment in terms of colour pops, I haven't had any issue in terms of, you know, someone wanting to match it to a very specific colour. Yeah, it'll be more like, I really love that green and blue kind of vibe, or you know, or they might they're going for kind of, say they've got kind of plush velvet, or they're going for like a jungle vibe in their lounge or something, you know, and that kind of inspires some of the patterns I use as well. But I don't have any problem in terms of colour matching, but I do think that's, as I say, a lot of my clients are saying that they've got neutral rooms and then the colour comes in from, you know, bright pops on the wall. So my aesthetic kind of works quite well with that current you know, sort of trend.
Wonderful. And to both of you, like, how do people react when they first see your art? Because it is very different. It's not like a typical painting on a canvas. Like, you both have such unique perspectives and ways of doing something that I guess, well, I've never really seen it before. Like, I've never seen eggshell paintings, and I've never seen needle felt work like that. So yeah, like, how do people react to it?
usually they don't believe that it's wool until they get really close to it and they question it quite a bit, and that I really like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to do such detailed work, because people can't get their head around it, and you can sort of see them thinking, how, you know, and even when you explain it to them, they're just like, but how? So I just like that it makes people question what they see. And I like things that kind of trick the eye a little bit, and so, you know, from a distance, I mean, it looks like a painting, or and some people say it looks like a photo, and it gives them a reason to look again, which they do, and get up close to it and things, and so it draws them in.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest kind of difference with what I do. I think that it challenges what people think about what you can do with wool, because wool seems a bit kind of fuddy-duddy, and, you know, knit a scarf and a gloves and things like that, and people don't see it as an art medium, you know, and so it just completely changes their perception of it.
Definitely.
Yeah,
What about you, Nicola?
Yeah, so people generally are like, wow, can't believe that's with eggshells. I get asked about, you know, but aren't they too delicate, or, you know, is it too small, you know, that kind of thing. But really, eggshells are surprisingly tough, and I think, you know, for me, what I've decided recently I want to kind of do more is talk about sort of why I've chosen eggshells, not just because having like craft sort of, you know, crafternoons with my daughter, but to me, like, they really do resemble kind of something, you know, beautiful coming out of something which, you know, is sort of perceived as broken, or, you know, very fragile and delicate. You know, something that, you know, a lot of people wouldn't look at an eggshell and think, you know, that's an opportunity for art necessarily. I enjoy kind of being able to, you know, use something quite everyday, quite mundane. You know, a lot of people, you know, would just sort of throw them in the bin, or a lot of people do crush them up as slug protection, which is another good well, in the garden. But yeah, so to be able to kind of repurpose that, I really like, and something I'd like to be able to do as well on that kind of idea of reusing, repurposing, recycling. I'd really love to start looking into making my own inks. So I think you mentioned mentioned about using tea and coffee and things like that. Starting to play around with the colours I can get out of, say, the vegetables or the flowers that, you know, I'm growing as well, so it becomes even more of a natural process, and, you know, part of my kind of complete life in the garden. So it appeals to me.
Oh, wonderful. That's so interesting. I just really love both of your works. Like, it's so lovely just to hear you guys talk about it, because it's just something I've never tried before. So yeah, it's just really lovely. So in terms of shipping your art, so Pauline, like, have you had any issues with shipping like felt work? Because I guess it's not fragile. So
no, I've not had any issues at all. I mean, I'm quite careful with my packaging. So when I've finished a piece, and some of the work that I do my own framing as well. So it's framed. I have the boxes and a kind of shredded paper. I like to make sure that everything's recyclable and there's no plastic and things like that. So basically I buy the paper and I put it through the shredder just to package it up. And as long as it's wrapped and there's nothing rubbing against it, because the only thing with the felt work is if you were to rub against it quite a bit, obviously the fibres would come loose. So as part of my care instructions, I actually say, you know, don't sort of touch it. You can't touch it. It won't fall apart. But you know, don't take a cloth to it and try and rub it or anything like that. You know, because it would loosen the fibres over time. But no, I've not had any bother, and I've shipped to the US quite a few times, and not had any issues at all. I think just making sure that it's really well protected.
That's normally the true test, isn't it? Shipping it to the US.
Exactly.
If it survived, you did well.
Precisely. So yeah, so far so good. Touch wood.
What about you, Nicola? Like, how do you package your eggshells?
Yeah, so well, I buy the frames in bulk, and they come with a bubble wrap sleeve already, and then they're in a box that fits the frame perfectly.
Okay.
So that's kind of the first layer. Then I will see, at the moment I'm still using bubble wrap, but everything else is recyclable. So I then use the recyclable outside, like wrapping, recyclable fragile brown paper tape, recyclable stick. Everything else. The only thing that I haven't managed to really replace yet is the bubble wrap. The shredded paper is a brilliant idea. It's just, for me, that would often make the box really big, and then it expensive for the client. When we add on the postage. So that's something I'm still quite keen to address. But the packages getting there safely so far, been very, very lucky. And that they've all arrived in one piece and been quite secure. So
oh, thank goodness. So I remember when I first started doing my pet portraits, a couple that arrived in America arrived bent. And I was like, oh no, like, you can't bend the paper. You get a crease in it and it's forever there. Like, it just doesn't flatten. It's not like that. And the woman showed me a picture of the box, like, when it had arrived, and it had footprints all over it. Like, it's like they used it as a welcome mat.
Yeah.
And it was just it was horrific. It's like, it had fragile stickers all over it. Like, there was no reason why you should use it as a welcome mat. But luckily, it was only creased not on my drawing. It was like creased like on the edge, which could be hidden with the frame. So yeah, got away with it. But oh my God, I was just like cringing. It was like, oh my God, what have they done? Why would you stand on it? But yeah, you just have to, it's so cringy, especially sending it to America or Australia or anywhere really far away. It goes through so much, doesn't it?
Exactly.
You just gotta package it like within an inch of its life.
Absolutely.
I also, if I tracked you and get a signature at the end, that kind of thing.
Yes, definitely.
Got that insurance as well.
Yeah, definitely. It always should be tracked. I know when I first started out, I didn't track them, and then luckily they did turn up, but sometimes they'd get lost along the way or they take too long. And especially now, because things are still, I guess, COVID-y, like, the mail system is not performing as well as it used to. So I think it is really important for all artists to send your stuff tracked, like, always track. Just, pay the extra, because you will thank yourself when you see, like, your customer says, it's been weeks, where is it? You just look up the tracking. Oh, look, it's here. Don't worry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go and quickly get my charger, because I didn't know that I was going to have to do it on my phone. So I'm going to put it face down and be back in 2 seconds. Sorry.
No problem. That's okay. So Nicola, for someone starting out doing eggshell painting, what would you suggest? And any tips for them?
I would say, don't take it too seriously and just have fun with it. I think there's so much to play with, with texture, with different mediums. You think of the eggshell just like paper, and how many different techniques could be done on a piece of paper. The same could be done in eggshell. By getting some colours going in eggshells and stuff. I use colours in an eggshell, so that kind of thing. Just seriously, don't worry much about it not kind of to replicate stuff like that. I just think it's the fact that beauty in imperfections. So in that way, I think you can really just let go and have fun with it.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And
would you say that?
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, is there like a particular medium, because you use so many different ones, is there a particular medium that you think would be a good starter medium for someone?
For children, Well, and children and adults, I would say go with acrylics, because you've got those that even the cheaper acrylics that you can get in packs from from stores. They tend to be fairly pigmented. So those are good to start with. Not for children, but for adults, alcohol inks are brilliant, because you kind of they just create a pattern for you in a way. Each one tries as much to you as you're doing it. So there's no pressure on making each eggshell perfect. You're just going with the flow, literally, of the alcohol ink. But yeah, kids can't use that, so my daughter does. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for as a children's activity. But yeah, other than that, it really, anyone can, start practicing. And I do think it could be a really great way of artists just sort of testing out colours, and warming up for their practice for the day or something.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I'm really excited to actually try it, like just to see how it looks and how it does react with the eggshell and things like that, because you paint in the eggshell, don't you? So it already gives like color and surface and dimension. So
yeah, definitely. And yeah, like when you view it side on, you can kind of see how some of the inks have come through the shell, and others that and something that I'm sort of thinking of doing is using all the scraps of eggshells as I break them down, like you end up with all bits, and so that shows a lot more of the kind of natural colours of the egg on the other side. So I've got green egg layers, olive egg layers, brown, white. So there's a lot of natural colour in there as well. So sort of start exploring how I can use their natural pigments as well, in a slightly different art, probably. So.
Oh, wonderful. And so same question to you, Pauline, is so someone starting in felt, like what advice would you give them, and any tips for a felter artist?
I'd say probably to start with the wool felt backing. As I said, it's personal preference, but because it's already wool, it's the same fibres as you're using, so that it's easier to felt into. Things like linen are quite hard, are much harder. You have to build up more layers. So that's probably the first thing I say, just so that a lot of people would think, oh, it's not working sort of within the first couple of minutes. You'd have to really persevere a bit more with it. Also, the wool that you use, there's lots of different types of wool, and they want to use bats. So it's basically, it's how the fibres are layered. So sorry, that's the dogs again. You see that the fibres are all kind of mashed up and they're all crisscrossed, as opposed to tops, which is long fibres, and those are a nightmare to felt. So you want to get bats, and I use it's a brand called DHG, and it's Maori wool, and they also do some of the merino as well for finer work. So that's what I would recommend to use. And just some good quality needles. I use Heidi Feather needles, and you can get them online, and they're fairly cheap. So as getting all your kit together, that's what I would advise. And just have a bit of fun with it. You can't really go wrong. And what I love about felting, especially when you're trying to learn or if you're doing something a bit new, is if you really don't like what you've done, you just pull it back off and start again.
That's good.
And one of the tricks is not to felt too hard as well. You're really happy with a piece. So obviously the more you stab the fibres, the more it will felt down. Until you're really happy with how that looks, don't firm it up, sort of thing. Wait until, and then maybe sort of move on to another bit and come back and just don't commit to it basically until you're really happy with it. And then when you are happy with what you've done, you can firm it up a little bit, and then you can kind of leave that and move on. And there's loads of YouTube videos and things out there, and loads of really great felt artists that you can look at their work and just kind of be inspired. And that's what I've done this last year. There's some amazing artists, and I've been looking at all their work and just see it. You can see the technique coming through, what kind of techniques, and I've learned a lot from that too. So definitely look at other people's work, and just, you can take a lot from that too. So
yeah. And how do you finish it? Like, do you spray it with something, or just finish?
So I'll just get this. So this is what I use, is fabric shield, and it's, a lot of filters don't put anything on it, but I like to protect it. It just it protects against UV rays as well. So for fading and things, because I don't frame my work behind glass. I chose not to, because I just thought it took away from the texture a bit too much.
Yeah, it looks better without it, I think.
Yeah, I think for something like that, that's so tactile, and okay, you don't really want people to touch it, but putting it behind glass, it almost dampens it down a little bit. So this just helps to repel sort of dust and things. But what I say to people is, if they think it's getting a bit dusty, it's just like a hairdryer on low setting, just to blow the dust away, and this kind of gives it doesn't affect the finished piece at all. So
wonderful. And what about you, Nicola? Like, do you finish your eggshells like with any sort of coating or anything to protect it?
Yeah, so I have a matte lacquer lacquer spray that I put over most of them, but then some of them I'll then add on gloss on top of that. But the matte one really seems to lock in the colour top, so I do that first, and then if I gloss finish, I'll put gloss over after. And yeah, then it's just a case of popping them in their frames. But I think another thing that I'm quite keen to maybe try is, I know what you mean about when it's behind glass, it does sort of add that little bit of distance, and how I can get around that, because with the eggshell, they are so delicate that you need protection. But I'm thinking of maybe even like setting some, like in a thin layer of resin or something like that.
Oh wow, yeah,
amazing,
kind of clear, so you can see in rather than the box frame. So yeah, as you can see, there's so many opportunities for just playing with them, and any form. You can be inspired by any other type of art, and give it a go on this little canvas.
So to both of you, like, what's your next step for your art? Like, how do you, I guess you already just spoke about it now, but like, how do you want to develop it, and like, what do you sort of see in terms of your future for this medium? Like, would you go into a different medium, or how would you develop this one?
So I can't. I've always liked to try different things, and I would like to try a different medium, but more of a kind of hobby style. I think for me, this is I've found my calling, and as soon as I did it, my first portrait, I mean, within a month I jacked in my old business and set this one up. So I think it sort of shows you just how passionate I am about needle felting, and it's just, I can't really think of anything else I'd rather do full time. So for me, it's more just creating original pieces, and that's so I started out doing pet poetry, which is great, and I love it. I'd like to do other pieces as well, and I've just started to do some fine art prints of my original pieces as well, and I've got a few places that are showing those and selling them as well. So it makes it more accessible as well for people maybe who don't have pets, so I can still give them something and it's the same with the prints as well. They can, everybody can have a piece without having to commission a portrait of their pet, so I think for me it's just sort of just trying different subjects really, and just having a bit of fun and keeping it fresh, and if I fancy doing something, then I'll try it. So that's all it is for me.
In regards to your prints, like, how do you get the texture across? Because it's now, like, I guess, a sheet of paper, so...
So obviously the photography is quite important, so it's the lighting is important as well. I mean, there's a bit of a fine line between showing the sort of texture with lighting and things, because what I don't want to do is I want it to look as if you're looking at it in person, and when you look at it in person, it looks like a painting, and it's not until you get closer that you see that it's not. So I kind of want to replicate that. So you could put lots of shadow in and show the texture, but then it's not how I'm going to look at it in real life. So it's actually been pretty successful. Because it's a really good camera and lighting setup, it's really high resolution. It picks up all those individual fibres. So it, again, you know, up on the wall it looks like a painting, but as soon as you get to it, you can see the individual fibres. But I have to put loads of shadow and things in to show the texture, so it does show up pretty well. And it's a giclée print as well that I do, really good quality paper, and I think that definitely makes the difference. It's not scrimping on things, you know. And I think if you invest in that and get good quality prints, then it'll always show your work well.
Yeah, definitely. And what about you, Nicola? Like, what future do you see for your business and how to develop it?
Yeah, so as I said, this is the first month where I've gone full time as such with my art. So
very exciting.
Exciting. So by the end of the month, hopefully, touch wood, my shop will be launched. Well, I haven't looked at the different options, but I think I'm going to be hosting it on my website. That'll be my first step, getting that set up. So that is my first real step into doing these kind of what I'm calling mini collections that I've ready. So far, I think just by its nature, it's been a commission. Whereas I'd quite like to be able to, do a shop stock update, once or whatever, and so people can just buy, see it and buy, as opposed to having to get in touch and working out. So yeah, a lot more kind of ready-made type stuff alongside the commissions, and I would really like to start doing some bigger work as well. So it's a sort of a friend of a friend would like a piece for her house, and she sort of got a big kind of wall that it could go on, and so we're thinking about options of how we could do that to make it a real kind of installation piece almost. So that's something.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, so those will be kind of my experiments behind the scenes, but in terms of sort of what other people will see at the moment, it's a case of having ready-made stock for people to buy, accessible on the shop, and still being able to commission pieces to match their decor. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's been lovely to talk to you, because I've been seeing your artwork for a while now on my community group and on your Instagrams, and just fallen in love with it. Like, I love how different they both are and how passionate you both are about it, and it's been so lovely to see you guys express that and to share that with my followers and your followers. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Just to remind everyone, this is the first anniversary week celebrating the launch of my book, which was this time last year, and every day I am talking to artists about their experiences, and tomorrow we're going to discuss time management. So you can tune in tomorrow. I will put the link up for what time it will be, and I will repost this live so everyone can watch it later. Well, thanks so much, guys. It's been so lovely. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a lovely rest of your evening.
You too. All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye-bye.